And I will go ahead and share.
Beautiful. Okay, you should be able to share now, and always just have to make it public. So if you were watching this live on Facebook or on the replay, feel free to share. Same if you're checking this out on YouTube. Welcome to an illuminating chat. I'm Aurora Light, and I'm here with my beautiful friend, Radiant Soul Nicole, part of the Radiant Evolution Collective. Nina Infinity is off dancing her heart out at a music festival this weekend. But Nicole and I really wanted to come on and speak into conscious creation and choosing actively what it is that you are doing with the energy that is all around you to consciously create or co-create the life that you are living. It's something we're really, really passionate about, is empowering people, first off, to even realize that there are choices. We have choices. We can either be living from a place of basically just playing out all of our old programs, all of our subconscious beliefs, our trauma, our wounds, and believe that life is happening to us and we are victims of circumstance and other people. Or we can understand that we do have the agency to choose not necessarily what's happening around us, because in this game we're always co-creating with other people, but we can respond with consciousness. We can do the things that we need to do to transform all of the beliefs to of victimhood and saying that we can't control any of it and we're just going to be basically life is going to be happening at us, to us, right? Or we can take that consciousness and say, how am I going to respond? What am I going to do? How am I going to create, all from the first question that we get to start with, which is, how do I want to be in this circumstance? Even when things seem like incredibly chaotic or really, really crappy, you get to choose how you want to be and show up as that, and then allow the creation to happen and flow from that space. So we're going to be chatting today about what that process has been like for us, what it's allowed us to do, shifting that perspective and vibrational frequency, and what we're co-creating right now with that energy. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I feel like we're going to go into a multitude of places because this is such a beautiful and juicy topic. So, Nicole, like, what do you want to say to that? Because I just kind of spewed a whole bunch about conscious creation.
Yeah, well, I just want to speak to how we just, before we went live. So typically every week, and before we go live, whether it's in here or in the playground, whatever we're doing, we always drop into sacred space for set our intention. We do that when we're meeting for, meetings as well, all those things, because it helps us,
Conscious
direct
creation.
the energy so much easier. And we were about to just go live, and I'm like, oh wait, we haven't checked in yet. And now we've activated our sparkle fields, connected to the highest, our high selves, and I feel like that just opens the channel for us to be able to flow and direct the energy so much more. And that's just, like when we talk about embodiment, embodying this, it's not just like we don't go to a ceremony and just do this once a month or something like that. Like everything we do is consciously created in our lives. And even in the morning time, when I don't always do it every day, but often I will fill out my journal pages, and which I created since we're talking about creation. And one of the questions is, how do I want to be or feel today? And that sets the direction for the rest of my day. The days that I don't do it, like sometimes it's okay, but if I am feeling off and I don't do that, then I can end up like spiraling in that negative or downward or just icky more spiral. And it's so much easier to just be like, hey, in the morning, like, I want to be peace today. And so then I don't even have to think about it throughout the day. It just I automatically have set that intention and have done like so much work because it does take practice. You have to do a lot of, transmutation and getting rid of those old unsupportive beliefs and all of that, and mindset and healing trauma and healing your nervous system and all of those things first. And so I say I just do that, and then my day like flows so beautifully. It's because I've spent like 10 years practicing this. And yeah, so that's what was coming through for me to riff on all of that. Is it's just so important to practice creating what you want, because so many of us, I think, when we have awakenings, it's because we're all of a sudden we look at our life and we're like, I didn't really choose this. I'm here and I did the things to get myself here, but I wasn't like fully in. I did it because I thought I was supposed to, or I did it because this was just the program I was running. And I'm not, maybe not so happy about it. I didn't think that there was, oh, I think like my house is coming up right now as an example. I remember about, God, now I'm trying to do math in my head. That was 2007, 8. So like 13 or 14 years ago. We had a roommate that ended up being a cocaine dealer, and that was not a happy place for us to be in at the time. So instead of just moving and renting another place, I felt like we were really rushed into buying something. We could afford it, but it felt like, yeah, it just felt like it was a little bit too rushed. But I went along with it because I felt like it was what I was supposed to do. And little did I know, this was in 2008, we bought our condo, and we bought it right at the peak of a housing boom here, right before the 2008 world financial collapse. So we actually still haven't recovered from that. So, I mean, we have really low mortgage and all of that stuff, and it's fine. But I felt like for a long time, I felt like we were trapped here. I felt like such a victim to the situation. And it's been such a journey to realize that, like, just because those things happened to me and I felt like they're out of my control, I still did choose them, and I get to shift the way I think about it. And that's also a way that we can start to consciously create our reality, even if we're in a situation that we don't necessarily want to be in or can't get out of. I guess I do, oh, I do have a choice. I could leave. It would just be a choice where we would lose a lot of money, and I don't want to do that. So there is always a choice. Sometimes the choices aren't as, mm, they're not enticing, but there is a choice.
Absolutely. And, it's funny because you were like, oh, we always consciously create. And I was like, no, hands up. I totally don't. I just know what it feels like to do it. And I do it, let's say, 86% of my day will be consciously cultivated, created, directed. And then there's other times where I don't. Right. And I slip into that automatic programming. It happens to me a lot at night when I'm tired. And then I am just feeling like instead of consciously curating what I'm going to do, I will go back to that old program and suddenly be standing in front of my pantry. I'll be like, oh my God, how did I start eating this? What am I do? Because I got my phone in one hand and I'm just like, no, no, no. I was not conscious or present in those moments. I was just allowing this old program to run me. And then I'll step out of it and be like, what the hell was that? So if you have ever done that, feel free to make it feel like I'm not alone in the comments. We can easily fall back on those patterns, especially if we're feeling depleted or if we're bumping up against any kind of lack or scarcity programming. For me, it's often when I'm just feeling like, oh my God, I'm so tired from doing bedtime every night, that kind of thing with my daughter. But I loved your example about conscious creation and how you were in a space where you didn't consciously choose this. It was kind of all of the programs, all of the narrative, and some of the flow leading you to where you are. And then you got to shift the mindset, because that's really the thing. It's about our perspective, right? You can't always change the circumstances around you. We're not saying that. The game that we are currently playing is co-created. So stuff is going to happen around you, but you can either react to it from that reactionary space of playing out all the programs, triggers, beliefs, wounding, trauma, that kind of thing, or you can choose, how do I want to be, like you were saying, in this situation. And then from that beingness, from that place, and you get to choose if it's peaceful or if it's powerful or if it's just feeling calm or if it's feeling ecstatic bliss. Like you really do get to choose with these processes that you can use with practice. Then from that place, you're directing the flow of your energy and your attention. And then you start to be more conscious about how you're responding to the circumstances. And from that place of consciousness, you can direct the flow of energy and also at the same time allow it to be in flow, right? And not be trying to micromanage the direction of your life, because that's not what we're talking about either. When we try to do that, we miss out on all of the universal perspective that can really support with the creativity and all of the things that we wouldn't think about from our human vantage point. So there's so much to get into with that. But I want to speak into, you're talking about houses. So I have always been a renter. I've never wanted or desired to own something in my present moment. And for me, it's always felt like buying my freedom, right? As opposed to being locked in. With all of the Sagittarius in my chart, being trapped somewhere does not feel appealing. So I have consciously waited on purpose. I've had lots of times where I could have decided to go ahead and purchase something, but it would have made me feel trapped. So I stood there like that, even before I knew what belief repatterning was, going like, I could choose to buy something because that's what I should do, and then feel trapped and resentful because if I want to move, or if I don't like the place, or if I want to go traveling, like I would feel limited. So even though the narrative has been, this is what you should do to be a successful adult, I was like, that doesn't feel good to me. And if I'm thinking back to when I was maybe 16, 17, first looking for places on my own, I didn't really know what I was looking for. So I rented different places. I had different roommates, and some of them were awesome. Some of them were less so. But it was through the practice of the aligned action of seeing what I liked and what I didn't like that allowed me to bring more consciousness into that process of finding a place to live. And this is what you're saying. It takes practice to do these things. And sometimes we need contrast. We need to go, wow, I don't actually like this. I just kind of took the first available place and I didn't really know what I was looking for. I didn't know what I was doing. And then you wind up with like maybe sketchy neighbors. You don't know to look for some place with a particular layout, because you don't realize that a sink in your kitchen with only one sink instead of two is going to drive you crazy, right? Sometimes we don't know those things until we're in it. And as you get older and you start to bring that conscious awareness, you can start going, okay, I don't like this, but it's showing me that I would prefer two sinks, as a silly example, right, in my kitchen. And then you start to collect all the data of like, what is it that I really do want? What is it that would make me feel the most lit up? And I realized if I had bought a house 10 years ago, it would have driven me crazy because I didn't know well enough what I wanted. And I would have gotten there and be like, well, I don't actually like this. I didn't have enough information from life experience to make a really big decision like that. When we moved recently, just to Sherwood Park in February, it was the end of December when I was like, you know what? I want to move to Sherwood Park. There was a whole bunch going around that decision, but I was like, don't want to buy anything. That feels too rushed. I need to get there by X day to be available for the school registration. But I was like, what do I want? And me and my husband had talked about it in our next home, and we wrote it all out. And within 3 days, I was able to find the exact listing for the place that I wanted. Ticked all the boxes, a lot of things better than I could expect. And we did get the place because I also called on friends like Nicole. I'm like, hey, can you hold space for me? Because I really want to live in this space, right? Unless there's something even better for us. Because I was surrendered. I was like, if it's in the highest and best good to not get this place, universe, I trust you. Bring me what's going to be better instead. But this is what I want, this or something better. And been living here. It's amazing. It's exactly what we needed. But I forgot to put on there that I would like quiet space. And so there's more road noise than what I would desire. If I had just bought this place, I would be annoyed that I bought a place with all the road noise. Now I've got one more thing to put on my list of what I actually really want. So we can continue to like expand and cultivate this practice in the small things and then the big things too.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think what's so important is, and kind of confusing, it can be confusing, is that like wanting something and then also letting it go and being open to like something even better. And, there's been so many times where this house felt like a barrier, not in a long time, but like near the beginning, we wanted to leave Edmonton and move to Victoria. And we couldn't leave our house and we just wanted it right now to like up and leave. And so that was like, yeah, you had already felt into that. And you're like, yeah, I want that freedom. I did not think that far ahead because I don't think I knew, like, that's just what you do. The next logical step in my life is to buy a house. And, it's all perfect and divine because living here has been super affordable. We do live in a beautiful neighborhood. There's so many beautiful things. It is big enough. I mean, if I had planned to buy this house when I knew that I was going to have a family, probably would have looked for different things, but it definitely still works. So, anyway, so there's all that. But yeah, the letting it go, if I would have been able to let go, like, oh, and seen that when I was wanting to move to Victoria and realizing that it wasn't in the highest good, like I felt like it was going to be in the highest good to leave, and then we couldn't. And I held on to that so tightly, and it caused like a total major dark night of the soul. But I needed to have that though, like it needed to happen. And if I had understood all of that about, like, don't worry, it's going to be even better, and really not have been attached to that, because I was really trying to run away from a lot of stuff at that time, um, it would have just been so much easier. So, and I didn't understand like tapping into the feelings. I was trying to escape rather than create something better for myself. So that's really interesting too. Um, yeah. And I feel like that's such a just a normal human thing to do, is to want to, like, I don't like this, I want out of it right now. And I think one of the biggest lessons for me this year that I've really learned and embodied now is the organic timing of things. Like, yes, we can create things quickly depending on what it is, and also things take time. You have to look to the seasons, look to the earth element, all the different elements, and acknowledge that, things happen in their own timing, and not to rush and force things. You can't force a flower to open. And like the trees will bloom when they're ready. And now they're changing, they're starting to turn color, and they'll fall when they're ready. And it's just the natural cycles of things. And that has been such a huge thing as I step into like being ready to do different things with my business and my healing journey from the concussion and all of these things. And it puts so much pressure and stress on myself to want things to be at a different place than where they actually were. And I was like anxiety riddled for quite a bit this year, because I was like, I need to like launch my program and my course and my all my different things, and I need to have like, all these clients and a six-figure business. And I'm like, when I took all that pressure away off myself, that's when things started flowing and working out so much easier, because that's that micromanaging you were talking about. I was like, it has to be exactly like this, or else um, I'm not going to have food on my table. And, that's not true. That's not how it worked out. I let go of it all and manifested and co created an amazing inspiration manager role with you in your conscious creation coaching program that we're launching so soon. And now everything just feels like so much more organic, and it feels right. It feels like in alignment when I'm actually launching the things. I was writing explaining the write-up for what my one-on-one sessions will be, and had looked at something I'd written a few months ago. And it was so interesting because when I felt into the energy of what I'd written a few months ago, it was the same thing that I would have offered, but what I was saying about it was like I was tapping into what I thought it should be versus what I actually offer. And
Mm.
I could feel such a different energy, because I was basically coming at it like, what I have to offer isn't good enough. So I need to tell you that it's even better than what it actually is. And now in this like organic timing process, I'm where I am now. I can really fully land in what I have to offer is enough. And I don't need to oversell or over deliver or promise what I'm going to give people. Like people really do need my codes, and that's true for everybody. Like they need your codes if they're coming to you. Like everybody has their own unique magic, and that is what that's what we're all here to share.
Yes. Oh, you touched on so many things that I just want to talk about. First off, with the organic timing thing, that was such a huge lesson for me because I do have conscious memories of being in other realms. Creation is like a thought, creation is like at that mental and causal realm level effortless. It's a blink of the eye. Directing the energy can create matter instantly, but we come to earth and play in these physical, denser vibrational frequencies to learn the organic timing and the creation where you have to have the foresight and you get to do the planning, and it's co-creative because you're doing it with the energies of everything and everyone around you. You were saying you can't make a flower bloom, and for me it's also you can't like plant your garden, at least where we live, in the winter and expect things to bloom, right? You also can't rip a baby from its womb and expect it to be like coming out perfectly formed, right? Things happen in this organic way and they do take time. And people like to play in that game of, oh, time is an illusion. No, we live inside a space where we experience time in a linear, sometimes cyclical, but in a linear way currently. So yes, we can connect with that part of ourselves that's beyond all space and time that exists outside of us with our consciousness. But we got to work within the bounds of the laws of the universe where we are right now. And so we get to do the conscious creation of first planting this seed, having the idea, and then letting it germinate. That's the process that people don't always get. It's like we speak about the need for integration time. There's also the need for germination, for gestation. Actually, there's a law of gestation. And it's very helpful because if we were so powerful that we could just be like, hey, you know what I would really like? This. And then it just appeared. Could you imagine the chaos? Especially as kids, first off, but most humans, I think myself included, are not ready for that kind of power. We don't have the wisdom yet. We don't have the restraint. So we are practicing. And I know that in our lifetime, the ability, and it already has started, the ability to create and manifest into the physical is heightened. It's speeding up. And that is very evident. But also, the more in alignment you get, the faster things go. The more you're able to surrender, the faster things can be created. The more you are able to connect and do it in this co-creative way, the faster things can go. The more fun you have with it, believe it or not, the faster things typically to go to. So we can do all of these things, but it has to be from that place of beingness, right? And for me, I think it's really about being ourselves and in alignment with both the earth that we are living in and on and within, and with our multidimensional self, with the all that we are, with our higher self and all of that. And humanity, like we're so powerful because we are actually able to be living bridges between all of that and create from that space. And when we can do that, like magic is possible, especially when we work together and when we allow ourselves to both do the surrender thing, like, hey, this or something even better, but also use our intuition and be a clear enough channel for the higher level things to drop through. So there's all of this paradoxical consciousness that comes in with it, right? The not trying to create something just because you should, or even just because you want to, but rather going, okay, what is my highest trajectory? What am I here to do? And feeling it drop in if you're someone who really gets those cosmic things, or feeling it come up from the earth, feeling it from inside your heart. It doesn't matter where it's coming from, but it's those things that are part of your creative essence, right? The codes that you hold, the pieces of the puzzle that you have for humanity. And then when we're in alignment with that, instead of just doing something for the sake of it, then the creation magic also flows. paradoxical consciousness, man. Like every spiritual tenet and creation principle has part of that. And that's why it gets so mind melting and takes so much practice.
Yes, totally. A lot of that, you've really helped me with understanding a lot of that because I don't think I really used to be in the mind space. And I think this is just I don't want to say like a bad level of consciousness when I say lower level of consciousness, but it is just a lower level of consciousness where you just see things as like more black or white, maybe some gray, but like it can't be both. And I think like the yes and seeing that both of these things can be true has like helped so much because my brain, I guess it's also kind of like cognitive dissonance maybe in a way too. Like my brain does not compute how both of these things can be true at the same time. And it's not, that's we got to get out of our brains and connect in with our hearts and our high selves. And then that's where that all kind of makes sense.
Yes. And so when you're saying it's a higher consciousness, it's not about good or bad. It's not placing judgment on it, but it's about more about your perspective, your level of perceptive perception. So you can think about us in our human form versus what the eagle can see when it's flying above us. They literally have a higher perspective, and so they can see more of what's actually happening. Same thing when we connect with those higher levels of consciousness, those different vibrational frequencies or different dimensions, our highest self, whatever you want to call it, or whatever you're tapping into, they can literally see more. And when you go up high enough, you can actually see the all that is, which is why I really like connecting with the highest self beyond all space and time and all distortion, because they have all of it laid out and they have the guidance for what is going to be the easiest thing, the thing that's most in flow. But the other example that really helps for me is you were talking about that black or white. From that lower level of perspective, it's like if you take a coin and we're looking at it, right? So I'm showing you this part, and to you, that's basically all it is. You can't even necessarily imagine what's on the other side if you've never seen this before, though you know you've seen this PNR coin, which is really fun from Void Space Technologies before. I know what it's doing on the other side. But if this filled up to expand your screen, oh, wait, can I even do this? If it's like all you can see, no, I can't even do that. But imagine it was all you could see, you wouldn't know there was something on the other side. The higher perspective is able to like zoom out and be like, oh my gosh, it's actually two sides of the same coin instead of two completely different things. So, love and hate are not actually necessarily like opposite things, right? They're two things that exist on the same side of one coin, which is one perspective, one slider. It can be all of it. Gosh, I hope I explained that without going too deep, because it's kind of like mind melting. Oh, what's an even better one? Stop me if you've heard this before, but maybe somebody hasn't. So Nicole, don't stop me. It's the blind man who is touching the tail of the elephant and saying, "Oh, it's skinny, and it's able to move back and forth." And there's another blind man who's touching the elephant, and he's going, "What are you talking about? It's just like a wall, a thick, warm wall." And another person who is touching the ear of an elephant, saying, "No, it's beautiful and thin and silky." And none of these men have the whole picture, right? But they're looking at the same exact thing. And I think that happens so often in humanity is that we don't give each other enough credit to say, maybe there's a part of us that are experiencing everything and it's perfect and divine and right for us in that moment, because we're only seeing that really small part of the puzzle. And it's the putting it all together, every experience, every vantage point, every blueprint of it, and seeing it from the higher perspective that lets us know what the actual truth of it is.
Mhm. Yes, I love that example. And that's really trying to remember all of that is what's helping me navigate through the times that we're living in right now because it does seem like things are like polarized to the max and everybody is not everybody but so many are very vocal about what they believe is the truth and everybody else is wrong because they don't believe the same thing and whew, I really try to stay out of that And also I have like my own human emotions and, feel certain ways about things also. And so it's really a great practice of allowing people to have their experience, know that they have their truth that's been based on all of the experiences that they've had in their lives, all of the, beliefs, all the traumas, like everything, all the books they've read and the media they've consumed has led them to be where they are. And their experience is their experience. And it's not my job to change them, to change their minds. It's my job to accept what they believe as their truth. And if I don't agree with it, to to be okay with that. And sometimes it's hard because sometimes I may feel their truths can be harmful to other people. So that's where it can be really challenging. And I think that's probably true for, what everybody believes. They believe that the other side is being harmful to others in some way or another. And, you know, that's where having that higher perspective and being able to zoom out and see all of that is so helpful. One thing that we were talking about before this is I saw some people commenting on posts about how if you've had the vaccine, then you are not being able to go into this new earth that we're creating as conscious creators. And I was like, oh no, that does not feel like truth to me. I feel like that's one side of the coin. And I feel like that's, in my perspective, it's a really fixed belief and it's not seeing the whole higher perspective. So I try to accept that that's what those people believe, and I don't have to hold that in my truth for myself. I can, have love for them and understand where they're at. And I can remember having beliefs like that when, at different points in my own journey, I really felt like there was kind of a denser energy. It feels a little bit more contracted. It feels like there's more fear involved to me, and it feels like there's was stuff like if I don't eat the right thing, like the companies are trying out to get me because I'm eating like pesticides, or if I'm watching TV, then I'm being manipulated and all these kinds of things, which maybe that's true, but I feel like as my perspective has shifted and I've been able to see the higher perspective, I've been able to acknowledge and experience that that is could be true, and I can also still it's almost like I tried to take myself out of society because I felt like it was like fuck the man. And then now I'm coming back in and to be more integrated into the more mainstream stuff again and like being okay with that because I don't feel like oh, it's trying to control me maybe I guess as much as I once did. It's just a really interesting perspective, and that's kind of where I feel like that mindset is. So it just feels like it's a different part in the journey to me now, and I was there, so I can hold the space and I can remember. And this is all just my projection of what I'm thinking these people are going through, so maybe it's not. Um, but yeah, that's it's just so interesting. So both of us actually didn't get the vaccine right away. I was guided to get it after the solstice for my first shot, and because I'm not afraid. I wasn't afraid of things actually happening to me, but I was like, oh, I didn't feel like getting it then, and then the mask mandate got lifted, and I'm like, oh, I actually don't feel as safe now without being in public without a vaccine. So I got it, and I was guided as I was doing it to do a lot of energy work and light work on it. And like I actually asked the person that gave me the vaccine if I could hold it and bless it in my hands before she uh, we put the vaccine in me. I imagined everybody that was like working in the clinic that day as like beings of light, their highest selves, and blessing them all, and just giving it so much love. And they were giving the Moderna shot, and I had the option to choose Pfizer, and I'm like, oh, I didn't want Moderna because I heard that one typically, anecdotally, seemed to have more reactions and with people. And I'm like, nope, I need to take this one because it's my job today here to like do some alchemy, some transmutational work with it, and hold the light and you know do that because I still think that it's important for me to do this. I had to push away all the noise out there of everybody else's opinions and come into my own sovereign state of beingness and really check in with what felt right for me. And that's what it was. And then cool experience or story afterwards. So I didn't talk to Aurora about this at all, actually, which is strange because normally we do talk about all sorts of things, but we didn't talk about this. And let share your experience.
So I first just need to go back and say that Lily's saying it's called the middle way. And I'm like, yes, the divine neutrality place between extremes is where I like to hang out. And that's how I've been witnessing as much as I can for as much as I've consciously remembered. It's saying it's not necessarily this or that. The truth is probably in the middle without judgment as well. So you can be like, neutral about it without that charge, and watching and witnessing the polarity of so much right now, especially when it comes to things like COVID, like the pandemic, like all of the big movements, like the new abortion laws in Texas, right? Like there's just so much where people are like, it's this or that, and there can be no meeting in the middle, and they're so vehement about it. When we're able to unplug ourselves from the grid systems that are holding everybody else's emotions about it, then we're able to take a pause and come back to our center and go, what is it that I actually feel? What is it that is correct for me in this moment, even if it's not true for a single other human being on the planet? What is my truth? And you were speaking into that about the vaccinations. And yeah, we've seen so much polarity, and we haven't talked about this. I haven't talked about it on Facebook either, because like, I don't want to wade into the this or that or fight energy. That's not what I want to be. And I too was sitting divinely neutral, not buying into any of the arguments or propaganda on either side. And I was just waiting for the clarity to come to me while still be witnessing, doing research, doing all of that stuff. And then there was one day when Gaia just said to me, she's like, all right, it's time. I need you to go ahead and do your magic and be the alchemist that you are. You now are at a space in your development where you have the power to go in, take a vaccine like the Pfizer vaccine, which is the one that I choose, and you can unplug it from much of the fear gridding system, and you can take it and transmute what is in that, both for yourself, do all of the healing work where it can't harm you, like don't even worry about that, but then you can ripple that out to other people as well. And so I did. I went, I did ceremony. I went in prayer. I went in meditation. I went in deep connection with the earth, with my highest self, with all of my team. And I too was sitting there, and I didn't actually need to touch the thing. I didn't ask to bless it. I just sent this gold plasma healing light that I know that I can use for transformation, transmutation into it, sent blessings, rippled it out to everything. And honest to God, I felt freaking amazing the next 2 days. Like I was just blissed out because I had stepped up and into my truth, did what I was directed to do from my higher levels, basically stepped in on mission, removed the fear or any of those possibilities of the lower timelines occurring in my space, and just did what I came here to do, which is to anchor in the light and transmute a lot of that old programming and that old way of being. And yesterday, I just 2 days ago had the second dose of the vaccine, and I went in and I was going to do all the ceremony and do all that stuff, and it's like, no, it's already done. You just go, boop, no problem, and then go and have an amazing day, have zero reactions. Now your mileage may vary. I am not saying that you need to do what Nicole and I did, but this was our truth that we then shared with each other, and we're like, oh my God, you were told to do this alchemy thing too? Cool. And then I speak to a few of my other conscious creator friends. Turns out, under the radar, there had been many of us who were tasked with doing this healing. And we didn't go and blast it all over Facebook, right? We're speaking into it now because it felt divinely aligned, right? It felt like the time to speak into it. But you have to understand, a lot of this work is being done in the background, right? A lot of people are working on healing and clearing and alchemizing, deconstructing old programs, old patterns behind the scenes without telling everybody what's going on. And the work that is happening is rippling out and it's affecting so many hearts and so many people. In fact, like a lot of the stuff that we have been working on is finally coming forward and coming to the surface. And it's really, really exciting. So I say this all the time, but I want to remind you all, please don't look to the narrative of the media to see what is going on in the world, right? You cannot see what's happening already physicalized out there because it's happening in the energetics first. And the stuff that we have done is being physicalized now. And actually, there's a lot of really cool stuff that's out there. So becoming neutral about what you're witnessing and unplugging from it is what I said in my September energy interpretation is absolutely essential for right now. Because if you are too plugged in to what is happening out there and what people are telling you is happening, it's going to suck you in, drain your energy, and you're not going to be able to even hear what it is that you are supposed to be doing right now. Because you might not have missions like alchemizing the vaccine, but there are things that you need to be doing for you to set the foundation up for all of the conscious creation that we're going to do. Lily was saying earlier, she's like, a new earth sounds amazing. Let's create that. Yes, but it's not the story that's been distorted in the mainstream media of all of a sudden either like aliens are going to come and transport us, or there's going to be just this huge event and boom, we wake up and half of the people are gone. It's none of that. What is happening is people are becoming more conscious of who they really are multidimensionally, turning on their awareness of the all that they are and the power that they have. And through that, we are co-creating changes to actually shift the entire planet's consciousness and then the physicality of it. And it's an ongoing co-creative process with millions of people currently, and it's super exciting. It's already happening. We just have to allow some of the things that are not in alignment to fall apart and disintegrate, right? But the light is so strong and there's so much data, information coming through, which is the light that's coming to the planet, light being information and love, and nothing can be hidden anymore, right? So it looks like chaos and it is kind of chaotic, but there is so much happening that we are doing individually, that you are doing, that other people are doing to anchor that light of the higher streams of consciousness into the planet that's going to ripple out now, that the magic is happening.
As you speak of all of that, like all the behind the scenes work, and how we were both guided to do this alchemical work on the vaccines, that really is what I think. One of the things that we wanted to talk about today was being a leader, being the change, is doing these things and embodying it, and not necessarily telling everybody to be a leader, you have to do these 5 steps and then you'll be a leader too. It's like doing what you're guided to, being in your own sovereign state and showing up as an example mm, for what is possible, because sometimes we don't always have that example of what's possible. And you and I and so many other people, everybody, but so many other people that are visibly doing this are just showing up, being themselves, and that's holding codes and giving codes to people to be like, oh hey, I can show up as myself also, and not just like what am I trying to say? As it's like that, really, that's what your mission is to be yourself, because we all have so many unique codes to share with each other, and we all have our own unique magic, and that is what we're here to do. And that's what you and I are trying to do in the work that we do, is just being ourselves so that we can give permission to everybody else that wants to be themselves and maybe isn't quite ready yet because it's scary to be themselves. But I'm here to tell you, if you're not, if you haven't already gotten the message, be yourself. Show up as who you really are, and that's really all you need to do. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it sounds so simple when you say it that way, but we do get to do all the transforming work first so that it feels safe enough because there's all the old programming and the wounding and the trauma. So we know it's not simply that easy, but you get to start with one thing, right? And you get to start following your intuition to clear the things that are in your way. And the other part is the paradoxical consciousness of it. It's like be yourself fully, truly appreciate what you're bringing to the table, the codes that you hold, the tones that you have, the light and the information that you have to share, and at the same time be constantly evolving and being open to that evolution because who you were is not who you are is not who you will be, so there gets to be a flow with it. And I find most people, especially clients of mine, get stuck in thinking that they have to be it already, like they have to be the final version and the product. And then there's this perfectionism that starts to weigh on them. And then it's impossible to even take any action because they're like, I don't even know how to get there because you're trying to skip the steps, right? Of being you in this moment and allowing the evolution, the growth, the learning, the shifts and the changes. And you were speaking into that earlier with the business stuff that you wanted to do, right?
Yeah.
Where you're like, it doesn't feel like me.
Yeah, totally. That's like that organic timing thing. I was trying to be further ahead than where I actually was. I wasn't accepting where I was actually at. And once I accepted where I was actually at, I'm like, oh, okay. I still need to go through the whole process and the learning. And like, if I skip all of that, I would have skipped all the lessons and all the learning and all the growth. And some things didn't work out. And I'm like, okay, well, I learned a lot from that. And I need those we need all that to give us more information so that we have information when we get to the next thing, because I do feel like that I'm here to do something that will, be pretty big. But if I got to that point all of a sudden, if I could just magically manifest that, I would get there without all the wisdom, and I wouldn't be able to have that solid foundation that I actually needed, that taking all those little steps. Like, I guess it's like that saying, you can't run before you walk, or whatever, however that one goes. Right? You need all those little steps along the way first. And I was trying to rush the process, and it created anxiety and stress, and it didn't work. I wasn't getting to where I needed to be anyways. As soon as I let it all go and accepted where I was, and just knowing that I was going to take a step every day, and um, I've gotten so much further, and it's been so much more fun, so much less anxiety. So if I can, yeah, say anything, just trust the process, surrender, and have fun along the way.
I mean, there's no one step is the annoying part, right? We're multidimensional. There are so many things that we get to be doing at the same time, so many elements that need to be in balance. That's why we love working with all of the different elemental forces of creation. There's different tools, but in the words of one of our favorite people, Jason Estes of Masters of the Void organization, just do what's right in front of you. And when you do that, then you're not missing anything, because what you need to move through is always going to be right in front of you, because that's what's going to give you what you need, either the space or the information or the clarity to go to the next thing that's right in front of you, right? And that's, again, where people get tripped up, is instead of doing what's right in front of them, they're like, but I want to do that thing over there, or I have to do that thing over there. It's like, yeah, but how do you get there? How do you get there? So Erin's just saying she was an exception because she did run before she could walk. And I was going to say, I think the saying is like you have to crawl, I think, before you can walk, but maybe it's run before you have to
No.
walk before you can run. But it's funny sometimes when kids skip the step of crawling, it actually messes up the cross hemispheric neural development. And I've had people that I know that actually had to go back and learn how to crawl as kids or even as adults to wire the brain in properly, because there is an organic process. But Erin, if you took off running, then that's all good. But you needed that experience, and then you learned how to walk. But the thing is, if you start running before you walk, you're going to fall, and you're going to fall harder, and you're going to fall more, and you're going to fall faster. So more damage can be created. So with everything, there's always exceptions. But typically, if we do something that's like not how we should, we make a mistake, it's just another opportunity for learning. That's the other thing that I feel paralyzes people about trying to create something, especially when it comes to entrepreneurship, but it can be with relationships or with hobbies, things like that, where people are afraid to make a mistake because they're holding that it has to be perfect energy. They're plugged into that grid. And I've been there for sure, where I have to be better at something than I actually am. And I'm not allowed to be a beginner and start at the beginner. Right. And I am someone who is naturally good at a lot of things. So I preferred doing the things that I was naturally good at because there was a biofeedback loop that felt really good. But for a while, it meant when I was a kid that I didn't like doing things I wasn't good at. And I would think they were really stupid and dumb. And I would give up because I got frustrated because I didn't know that sometimes you get to be a beginner and you're not going to be very good. And that's actually okay. You can learn so much in that space. So I really respect teachers and course creators and people who are saying, you know what, even if you know this stuff already, can you come to this space with a beginner's mind? Because maybe you're going to pick something up that you haven't heard before. Especially because if we circle back to something and we hear it again, or we try it again, or we learn it again from where we are now, we are going to actually pick up more nuance, pick up more coding, and actually create an even more stable foundation. So it's
Mhm.
okay to be a beginner. It's okay to make mistakes as well. Like that's one of the biggest ones. People are afraid of starting because they're going to make a mistake. They're going to F up. And the thing is, you're going to, right? Like you're going to, but that's okay. Mistakes are part of the process. So what if we just threw that word out and just called them learning opportunities?
Happy accidents, because I watched the Bob Ross documentary on Netflix last night, and oh, he is such a wonderful man. Yeah, mistakes aren't mistakes, they're just happy accidents.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. There's a concept in hula hooping, pioneered by Jonathan Baxter, as far as we know, called mistakelessness, where you just turn that mistake into a different move. Um, in belief repatterning, Suze Casey frames it as a mistake is just a missed take. Like on the set of a movie, if you mess up, the credits don't roll, it's not the end of everything. You just try again. You take two, take three, take 147. There are very few things in the world that you don't get a do over with, right? That you can't try again. And we actually learn so much more from the mistakes and the failures. So, what if we could give ourselves permission to be in that state of, yeah, as I'm learning to wield my power as a conscious creator, bringing forward all of my multidimensional self and all that I am to consciously co create this new earth, we're going to mess up. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to do things that don't work. We're going to bump up against a wall and maybe get some bruises and probably worse than that. But it's okay. Like that's okay. It's part of the process. And just to weave that all back in, it's very much easier to do that if you heal your nervous system and you heal that trauma so you don't go into a reactive state of dysregulation. If you make a mistake, you can just pick yourself up and be like, oh, aren't I adorable when I mess up? Oh my gosh, guys. Here, let's try it again.
Yeah, that's so true, actually. So that was another big learning for me in this entrepreneurship journey that I've been on. In the past, if I made a mistake in my corporate job, I would like, oh, it would, well, now I realize it would just regulate my nervous system and it would send me into a trauma response. And I quickly realized that I cannot do that as an entrepreneur. I cannot keep playing that old trauma patterning because it was not supportive and I'm going to make mistakes and I can't like punish myself every time that I make a mistake and not view it as a learning opportunity. And I'm trying to remember now what the big thing was, but it definitely was a trauma response that I was running. And I had to do a lot of trauma healing on that on myself and through with some support of other people this year so that I could actually like truly forgive myself where I made a mistake. And um, I do have to say, then I noticed after I did that work, something happened. I don't remember even what it was, but and really had to celebrate myself because where in the past I would have like honestly gone into this punishment thing where I would like doom scroll and like not go to bed or not eat because I was like that was my response, like, oh, I'm such a bad person because I made this mistake or whatever it was. Um, After healing that trauma, I was like, oh, I made a mistake. What did I learn from it? Let's move on. And like, that's such a huge difference. So we really do have to work on that trauma first, like, no, whatever, however it's showing up in our lives. If you're feeling like super anxious or just, having these strange reactions of like, I can't take care of myself because I made a mistake, like, that was a pretty severe one. And honestly, that was sometime in 2021 I dealt with that. So wild.
So, what I really heard when you were saying that is being outside of that reactive, dysregulated state allows you to take personal responsibility, look at it going like, I made a mistake, own it. Then you go, what did I learn? You take that accountability and then you can put it into aligned action. But when we are in that heightened response state, it could be even that you get really defensive. Like I've done that. Like you mess up and you're like, what? No, I couldn't have. No, no, that wasn't me. Like, no, it's actually supposed to be like this, right? You could do that. I remember going into fawn as a trauma response if I made a mistake. Although sometimes I would like use that to get out of trouble when I was, say, a server and I messed something up. I would go to someone, oh my gosh, I'm so very sorry. I didn't mean to, like this happened and this and that. And they'd be like, no, it's okay. It's okay. Like we'll deal with it. And then um, I would actually get really good tips because they would feel so bad for me. So I'd kind of like milk that one. Totally not purposely. I didn't realize that's what I was doing, but I was unconsciously using that trauma response to control the situation. So cleared that up when we're able to be in that space of calm, of anchored alignment, then we can look at the situation as it is, accept it, which is really huge and key, and then take the appropriate actions to respond to it and not just be in like reactive mode. And that's another huge part of that conscious creation is taking the personal responsibility and the accountability for the fact that you're in charge of how you respond to something, not necessarily what the thing is. Things happen, shit happens, but what are you going to do with this pile of crap? Are you going to like, cry about it? Or are you going to go, maybe my garden needs fertilizing and I can use this as manure and you can turn it into something beautiful, right? That shit into gold alchemy is our favorite.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're not responsible. It's not your fault that the bad thing happened to you, but it's your responsibility if you choose to accept it and you want to change the way that your life is playing out to learn how to alchemize it, to move through it, and to neutralize and regulate your system again so that you can not have that running the show and running the script for you anymore. That's such a
Mm.
huge learning. And I know playing that victim role has been something uh, how I have, shown up a lot in my life. And there's still ways that I am unwinding that. I'm like, it's so interesting how it shows up in so many ways. I'm so wired to use that to get what I want out of situations. And it's because we are all trying to get our needs met. And when we're young and we're in these situations, we don't know how to get our needs met and we don't know how to speak clearly for what we or we didn't know likely how to speak clearly for what we wanted. So we found these like backdoor ways to get our needs met so that we could feel like we were getting the love that we needed essentially. And so that must have worked for me for a lot of my life. Also, like, oh, turning on the tears because I needed attention or, whew, this was a big one. And now that I've let this go, it's like revolutionized my life of um, needing to be sick or have something wrong with me to feel like I'm so I think honestly letting go of that is what like finally healed that old concussion for me.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
now when I notice these things coming up, I'm like, oh, my mind, like there's like still like they're still there in some of the programs, but there's less and less. And then I'll start to do it. I'm like, nope, we don't play this game anymore. like, I'm like, okay, all right, no playing this game anymore. And it still does send me into, you know, tizzy a little bit sometimes, but I'm getting like there's way and way less. And it's just like, who knows, maybe this will still be showing up in my whole for like the rest of my life in some ways because there's always something more to unlearn and more to do. And I also can recognize how far I've come as well.
Hmm. Let's just take a moment to destroy and uncreate all of the ideas that we are not able to heal completely and thoroughly and actually embody a different way of being. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you can pock and pot it. We can always repattern that because I do think that when we are able to rewire our brain, like we do in some of the techniques that I use, like belief repatterning, and there's other ways that you can go about doing that. You can actually create a neural pathway that is so strong and robust that that is where you go to first. And it's only in looking back that you even go, I used to do that. I used to think that, wow, because you create this new normal for yourself. But there are programs that are much more heavily entrenched. And if they are also like collective, ancestral, akashic, all of those things, it can take longer and more work. And maybe you have to do some cleaning at the cellular level. Maybe you have to remove some cords and contracts. But I think that we can do much more than we give ourselves credit for because we are so magical, especially when we get into that alignment, take personal responsibility, and actually believe that we can do that. So half of the battle for healing, if not like 90% of it, is just believing that it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, we could talk about all of this for ages, but because we both have tiny humans, and it is a holiday here in Canada, and I think a lot of places around the world, at least or North America, right now. We're going to wrap up, but I do want to say that I will be back tomorrow, and I'm actually going to have a conversation with one of my favorite conscious creators, the guy that made this coin, this PNR, which is a personal nexus device. Which is really fun. He is the founder of a whole lot of organizations, including the Master of the Void organization, and one charity that I really love contributing to called Earth Change. And we're going to be speaking into what it means to be a conscious creator and actually be the change that you want to see in the world. Because Jason is someone that holds in his field a whole lot of amazing codes for what that looks like, the things that he has created, and the actions that he has taken have created just whole organizations. He got like, I don't know, 20 companies or something like that, a lot of non-profits. He is doing things to co-create this new earth. And he said many times, if he doesn't see the answer to a problem that is out there, he just creates it. Or he'll find the person who is doing that and he will partner with them. So it's never a case of I got to do it all on my own, but really utilizing the team that humanity is. And he's really dialed into the team of people that are the leaders right now of co-creating this new experience on the world that we want to have. So I'm like just so excited about that. And that's going to be at 3 o'clock Mountain Time if you're watching live on Facebook, and I'll have the replay up on YouTube after that as well. So if you are interested in seeing that interview, I'd highly recommend subscribing if you're watching on YouTube now, because it is definitely going to be full of information and coding, and also some examples of how you can step more fully into your conscious creation and leadership.
I can't wait for that conversation. Learned so much from Jason, from him just like he's definitely shared a lot of information, but also him just being himself and showing up in the world, being the change that he wants to see. And yeah, such an inspiration. And I love the conversation that the two of you had last year. So it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I had him speak at last year's Soul Embodiment Summit. We had an incredible conversation about value and worth. So, if you're interested in sort of pre-gaming the conversation we're having to tomorrow, you can check on the YouTube channel, and you can scroll down to the September last year of 2020, and you can see that conversation. it was really incredible. And I think a lot of what he actually spoke into in that convo would really add to what we said today. So I think I'm going to go back and rewatch it because I'm going to pick up new coding from it. And it was really about the value and the worthiness that we hold so that we can be conscious creators, and how we get there and why we don't have like all of our powers and abilities online right at the beginning, because we have to basically earn them. We have to be able to show that we can be responsible with what we have, and then we're given more. So that's another huge code for conscious creation. It's you got to deal with what's right in front of you and what you have responsibly before you can level up. It's the same thing that we talked about in our intuition episode, where if you're getting a download, an intuition about an action that you need to take for your highest and best good, and you don't act on it, you're not going to get a lot more until you actually do. If you stop yourself from doing the things that you're here to do, then you're not going to be given any more to deal with. Is there anything else you
Amazing.
wanted to share before we?
Um, hmm. Yeah, I just want to say the conversation from last year. We will drop the link in the YouTube link in there and in the comments. And what was so helpful for me about the worth and value, Jason talked about the worth bowl, and like the worth is what we have. So I actually use this for myself. I imagine this bowl and I'm like, oh, if I'm not feeling like very empowered, I check in to see what my worth bowl is like. I'm like, oh, sometimes there's big holes in it and stuff. So my value is just pouring through it. And I imagine like doing some alchemy to fill up those holes. And that, I forget what it's called, that Japanese like pottery thing where they fill it with those golden bits. And yeah, so I just imagine that getting all that all that alchemical process and filling up all that in. And so that was such a like a powerful conversation that has like helped me many times throughout the past year. So I'll find the link and post it in the comments for you all who are asking.
Yes, please do. And let's also just link to the Soul Embodiment Summit that is coming up in just about 2 weeks, which will be from the 20th to the 24th. Jason is kind of my first guest, to bring us into the sort of like pre-launch energy for conscious creators. And Soul Embodiment Summit is going to feature 15 other speakers that are going to be doing workshops and interviews and presentations. We'll also be doing ceremony to align us with the equinox and move us into this deeper relationship with ourselves as conscious co-creators with the earth, with the elemental forces of creation, and just be in communion with each other and other people that are here to co-create this experience that we want to have on the planet now, because we're ready for it, I think. And if you're not feeling ready, that's okay. Focus on you, focus on what's right in front of you right now. And if it's going in and disengaging from the outside world, doing your healing work, you're coming to your center, to really be able to listen to those pieces that are going to drop in for you about what it is that you are here to do and what you're here to share, do that. It's going to be super, super key over the next few weeks. So with that, we will leave you for now. I will see you again tomorrow in just about 26 hours. And I can't wait to connect again with you next week, Nicole, and with Jason tomorrow. Till then, just have yourselves a beautiful day. And remember, you do actually have power to choose how you respond in situations. So just join me while we just take an extra breath today before we do anything. That's how I want to show up today, in that place where I peacefully pause before I move. Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. We love you so much. We'll talk soon. Bye.